Today I'm reviewing the Transformers Haslab Victory Saber. This is going to be a long one, so let's get to it and let's say go! It's morphin' time! Hello, this is Soundout here, and welcome to my review of the Transformers Legacy Haslab Victory Saber box set. This is the first Haslab for Transformers that I've done. I passed on Unicron because I just thought he was too big and too expensive. Star Saber is one of the most prominent of the Japanese-only Transformers characters, and they finally brought him out into a modern line with the Legacy edition of Star Saber, as well as Victory Leo to be the Victory Saber set. Now, this, of course, was a Haslab campaign. For those unaware of Haslab, they have a crowdfunding period. There's a period of time you can back it by essentially you just commit to buy one and they'll charge you at the end of the campaign. There's really no reason to wait on a backing until if you know you're going to get it, because pretty much it's just an open pre-order. And then if they reach a certain number, they'll actually go into production. And if they reach additional numbers beyond that, then there will be additional stretch goals unlocked. Now, Haslab is a bit of a tricky situation because they don't always go through. If you want to know more about that, stay tuned for my video coming this Friday. But this was one of the successful ones from 2021, and now that we are in 2022, he has finally shipped. Mine arrived here about 2 days before Death Saurus closes, which is the next Transformers Haslab, but you'll be seeing this video the day after. So if that's the first time you heard about it, sorry, I think you missed the window on Death Saurus. But in terms of actually getting these, the reason I'm doing a review is to show the quality and, you know, the overall features of something like this. And also because on my live streams, which happen every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern, the audience unanimously voted for me to make a video on this. So this is because of you, my wonderful audience. And if you want to see more opportunities to vote to get videos made, check out the live streams Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern. But in terms of the actual review, we're going to be going through every single step of this guy. So we're going to look at the packaging first, then we're going to go break down each individual mode, each individual combination, each individual feature, and we will also be comparing at the end of the video to the Masterpiece Star Saber, as I do own one of those. Now, this box is really, really big. That's why you see me waving my hand around and not doing anything exciting because, well, I want to talk about it, but I have the camera as far back as possible because this thing is really big and really tall. This box, in fact, is so tall that I can put Legacy Minosaur up to it, and he looks dwarfed by it. Like, this thing is really big. I would have grabbed a Titan to bring in here, but that wouldn't have fit in frame. I do really love the artwork. It's got the grid line design that was featured in Victory's transformation sequences prominently. They're always in front of like an 80s grid design. That's a general like Super Robot anime thing. This outline of Victory Saber in the background, the combination of Star Saber and Victory Leo. This is actually a slipcover, but on the side, it does show you what is included. So we can just roll through this. We got Autobot Saber, we've got Victory Leo, Brain of Courage, Holi, and Autobot Fire. So what's interesting here is that Holi and Fire were two of the 4 Micromasters in the show. Holi had the most character. What's really fun about having Holi and Fire written here is because when Shout Factory released Victory on DVD many moons ago, which is now out of print, sadly, the names were changed to the English names where applicable, just in the subtitles as a Hasbro request. So Holi went by Stakeout and Fire went by Red Heat, whatever the American names were, even though these are different colored versions of those Micromasters. So it's nice to see we've gone from, oh, we can't have the Japanese names if there's an English name, to, yeah, we're putting Holi on the box of this thing. The other nice part is on the back, you got just really good presentation. It does say V-Star Jet up here, and then you've got Victory Saber on the stand. Looking pretty amazing. And then you got the little Haslab logo down here, which you can see, designed by Haslab. And then on the side, you can see we've got the Victory Saber logo, as well as Transformers. And yes, there is stuff falling out of it as soon as I laid it down. This is one of the minor problems I have with this box design. There's just some loose stuff in it. With the other Haslabs I've only gotten the Marvel ones, Galactus and Sentinel, and they came in these really nice enclosed boxes. This one, if you tilt it, stuff's going to be falling out. Like, for example, the instruction book, which looks pretty nice, it is just kind of loosely tossed in. Now, there are stickers, which I will show what it looks like without the stickers before we apply those stickers. That's just legal text. But what's really cool is that with this instruction manual, as you can see, it's in color. What's also cool is you get a cardboard sheet that kind of covers the figures, but it's actually a really nice piece of artwork. It reminds me of the Japanese anime style of Victory a lot. You got Death Stars up here, basically teasing his appearance as the next Haslab. And then we got Star Saber, Victory Leo, Holi, and Fire. Looking really, really nice. I do really like this. And it's a nice sheet of cardboard instead of just paper. So the slipcover here is reversible. So if you pop it apart, you can flip it around. So if you want a more Japanese-inspired box design, which I think this is inspired by the Victory Saber box set, like a repack of Star Saber and Victory Saber, which was C328 in the original Japanese line. Down here you can see the original packaging mural art for Victory, which shows a lot of the characters, which we're actually kind of close to finishing the Victory cast, so maybe one day we'll get everybody. But you can see it is like this, and then you have kind of a more standard looking readout if you're used to the Japanese Transformers boxes. So this can totally be flipped around, so you have two options with your slipcover. Here we have an accessory of trays. A tray of accessories. Sometimes when I'm filming these things, it's late. Those got the cannons, the swords, the shield, the stand pieces here. This really cool Victory logo stand, which we'll look at all of that. And then finally, of course, in here, we've got the two guys themselves, Victory Leo and Star Saber. So they're packed in with plastic tie downs, which I know on some, which looks like a little bit on mine. We'll look at this closer, but you can see there's some scuffing on the chrome. It's very light on mine. I've seen some worse examples. Having plastic tie downs over chrome, bad call. Definitely needed something better. This is not a plastic-free packaging. As you can see, we've got plastic trays, and I think, yeah, you can just pull these out. So these are just plastic trays with tie downs. I think we needed something better here. Maybe a second like clamshell piece to go over it. Because it also means that once you cut these plastic tie downs, you're not really getting this back into the box if you want it to stand up, because things are just going to shift and fall. But yeah, you can see we got Victory Leo there with Holi and Fire. Looks like his leg popped out of the tray. Yeah, not a super big fan of these trays. If I have one critique for Hasbro, if they're watching, which I hope they are, clamshell the parts together, because I don't think the twist tie thing is, or not the twist tie, the plastic tie down thing is really that great. All right, so we're going to start with the smallest components in the smallest modes and work our way up to the big one, just because I think that'd be the easiest way to do this. So first of all, we're going to be looking at Saber in his jet mode. So for those unaware, Star Saber is actually the formation of Saber and the V-Star to make Star Saber. So in reality, the main core robot is Saber here. Now he turns into this nice little like futuristic sci-fi jet. Really cool, mostly red design, white striping. He's got the gold chrome, which for me, I'm just going to mention this now. My chrome seems fine if a little like slightly abrased. The chrome has been showing up flaked on some copies. It's been showing up scratched on some copies. You can see it just like attracts fingerprints like nobody's business. It's honestly, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the chrome. Chrome stickers may have worked better, but in general, I think just not having chrome would have been a better option, in my personal opinion. Like if you wanted the chrome, you could have added it with like some foil tape or something. The chrome, I'm not a big fan of on this or Victory Leo, but we'll get there. Anyways, the detail I do want to point out is the cockpit, because Star Saber is what's known as a brain master. Similar to a headmaster, there's a small robot that can drive the vehicle that becomes part of the head of the robot. Now with headmasters, they become the entire head. With brain masters, they sort of just become the face. But you can see him in there, which is really nice. This is when clear plastic is useful for vehicle modes. A lot of Transformers use clear plastic for no reason. This one, you can actually see the brain of courage inside of Saber there, which is really, really cool. Now, of course, due to the following of the original design, that means there is a whole robot under here. No denying that, but it's there. I do like that the wings are painted on the bottom, so it gives it a nice premium feel for being the Haslab that it is. So you can see here, fairly nice standard size jet. Let's compare it to a semi-recent deluxe class figure. Here is Silver Streak or Blue Streak. I go with Blue Streak because that's the cartoon name, but as you can see, he is about, modern deluxe size in vehicle mode, which is pretty good. I think it's a pretty good vehicle mode size. So before we get to transforming this guy, I do want to show off the Brain of Courage. It comes out of the cockpit here. You can see it is really, really, really tiny. So be very careful. You could easily lose this guy because he is less than an inch tall, or about an inch tall, I think. He actually has ball jointed shoulders, which is kind of crazy. Like they wiggle a little bit, which also means that they pop off, which could happen. They pop right back on, which is really nice. His legs do move, and that's about it. There also is a face on his back. But more on that in a bit. But yeah, this little guy, outside of, you have to remove him for the transformation. You can't leave him in. But he does stay securely in that cockpit otherwise. But yeah, be very, very careful with how tiny he is. All right, now we're going to transform Saber. So we're going to take the little Brain Master. First things first, we're just going to flip out the face. This is just how they did it here. The original gimmick was a little bit different in the show, but the face is just flipped up here, and his little smaller Brain Master face goes away. We'll come around here and remove the nose cone. Some may go, oh no, parts forming. That's just how the original design is. This is just a separate piece. We'll fold these back. We're going to flip them around. Going to bring this shoulder up, and then flip out the fist here. Bring this shoulder up, flip out the fist. It's a pretty simple transformation. Now, this is where it gets a little complicated. You need to pull these tabs down. And I say this so you don't run into these tabs, but you want to pull this out. Then you're going to split the back of the leg to swing the joint forward. This can be a little tough when you're trying to do it on camera, but once you do it, there you go. Close it up. There we go, like that. And then you want to flip the foot forward. So you got that. Let's try to do it cleaner on the other side. It's a challenge. So we open it up. You can see basically from there, you gotta slide this up and out, bring this around, pull it down, pull this forward, push that up. But he is lacking his head. So we're gonna flip the panel down, flip the head up. You can see there he has no face. And then you just take and make sure this little pegs in back there. You kind of want to just load the face first, get the Brain Master in there, close it up, and then plug this on to the arm, and you're done. Essentially, that is Saber. So what's really cool about this guy, what I really like about him, is kind of like I like the blue torso, the red legs, and then the arms. The only thing I don't like about this figure is that the arms like to droop. So you can see that there's a droop on this side. And they are screwed in, so seemingly you can tighten those, but out of the box, this stays in some positions, but other times it just really, really droops. But I do want to talk about the Brain Master, because this was a thing for some people. This is how they decided to do it, and I think it works fine. Having the head or the face be part of the Brain Master works better than having a sliding mechanism on a figure this small. But what's really cool is that the actual whole chamber turns, so you don't lose any head articulation, which is quite the benefit. So you can see you can actually get him to pose properly, which is really, really nice. Other than that, I mean, he's got little kibble on the back of him. He does have a pretty good range of movement. I mean, outside the head, we've got shoulders that do this. They're ball jointed, elbow bend, elbows swivel, a little tight there. The wrists do pivot inward, but, there's really no point to that. Waist turns, but it runs into the backpack, and there's no real way to shift the backpack out of the way. But it does click forward for transformation, so if you really want a waist swivel, you can get a waist swivel. And then you got hips that move out, forward, thigh swivel, knee bend, and then an ankle that pivots a little bit inward. So you get some nice posability. Now, weapons-wise, he mostly is shown using the gun from Star Saber, which on him looks a little ridiculous. It is really, really big. That is mostly accurate, but it does look a little intense. Size-wise, Saber is a little bit shorter than an average modern deluxe. The Minerva/Elita 1 mold here being a recent legacy release. He's a little bit smaller than a deluxe, but about deluxe size overall. So the next component is the V-Star. Now this is essentially where the bulk of Star Saber's robot mode comes from. In universe, it is an extra base sort of piece. This is essentially a flying fortress type for Saber to use. And yeah, V-Star, Saber makes Star Saber. They think they're clever because they are. The cool part here is while you do see things like this is essentially just Star Saber's helmet here, they did convert it into a battle platform. You do have these two cannons here, which actually do pivot, which I thought was kind of neat. And then you've got, of course, wings on the back. So while it's mostly white, you do have this nice blue trim all around. It looks very Gundam-esque. It's no surprise because Kunio Okawara worked on a lot of Gundam, and he designed Star Saber. On the bottom here, there's these two landing gears that flip out of the knees, which isn't, seems like it wouldn't be that helpful, only having these two spots to balance the whole thing on, but hey, it actually is pretty balanced like that, which is really, really impressive. You'll also notice there's a lot of 5mm ports on here for weapons. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, you can put all kinds of stuff on here. Officially, the only real things to put on here is like the gun for Star Saber, which can go in any of them. I find it settles up best there. But overall looks pretty good, if a little incomplete, because you're supposed to put something in the front of it. So when you have the V-Star like this, and you take Saber in his jet mode, you want to fold up his wings here like that, and then fold these wings up like this. There's a little notch here, and there's a little tab on the inside, as well as 2 little clips up here. If you line all that up, he will clip right into place, like this. Come on, line up, there we go. You can fold these little flaps down, and boom, there you got the Star Saber vehicle mode. I believe V-Star Jet is a later combination. I'm not exactly sure what the name of this form is. Let me know in the comments if you do. But essentially this is like the vehicle form of Star Saber, because now you got Star Saber, as in Star, V-Star, Saber, Saber. But this is essentially, you know, the combined vehicle mode of the V-Star. Now there is some neat accessory use in this form before you even get to the robot mode. First of all, this thing does come with blast effects. These are the same ones we see with like all the Titan and Commander class figures at this point. But if you use these front parts, they plug onto the little guns here. So you can get some little blasters on the front blasters, which is pretty cool. Overall, I think that looks pretty decent, allows you to have some reason to adjust those cannons. And then on the back here, you can plug these in as thruster blasts, which I think looks pretty good overall. So you can kind of give some extra green detail. Now, if you do want to take this guy to the skies, metaphorically, there is an included display stand. This was included as one of the stretch goals, but you got this giant V and the Autobot logo. Looks really, really nice, so we'll pull that off there. Really nice base. And then this arm has a little clip attachment, so that way you can line up that clip with the yellow part, or the red part right here, right below the yellow. We'll fold the landing gear away. And then this allows you to clip it on to, actually, this little piece comes off. Let's do this easier. We'll clip it on here, and then once you do that, you can plug it onto the stand, and then now you can have it flying. And I think that looks pretty good overall, because now you've got sort of it in a more dynamic pose. So if you actually wanted to display the vehicle mode, you totally have that option. Now you do notice there's a wobble. That's because as sturdy as that plastic is, it's still gonna wobble a bit. This thing is quite heavy. And something I have noticed is that the stand doesn't stay flat with this on it, because it's sort of tipping forward. There's no counterweight on the back, but we can solve that later. The other thing is the shield, which was only in the anime, not in the original toy, didn't have a storage spot on any previous version from what I know, but there's a peg there and a hole here, and you can just line this up, boom. So now the shield is a part of the vehicle mode, just like everything else is, which I think is pretty great. So much like the vintage toys, the V-Star does have a base mode. This is definitely not that exciting, but we're gonna do it anyways. Let's pop this up here. So we're just gonna do some simple stuff like that. And we're gonna separate the arms from the legs, untab the arms. I'm just gonna rotate them forward. Actually, they need to go backwards. We need to rotate them backwards. They also need to be up here. We're gonna get this like this. And these are gonna basically just expand out to be the legs. I'll go over this transformation in better detail when we go to Star Saber. I'm just doing this because it's a reviewer's obligation of a transforming robot to show all the forms, pending any actual enjoyment of them. But we've got this whole thing going on here, which is essentially just, it's Star Saber laid down. It doesn't balance out at all. Most base modes at least balance. This one just is floppy. I'm looking at the picture, but essentially we just plug the gun here. We plug the helmet up here between these 2 little tabs, and then the shield I think is supposed to counterbalance it, and it just pegs in like here and here. It really doesn't like to peg in, so I'm just gonna hold it, and y'all can pretend that I did a good job. That's the base mode. It's ridiculous. I guess you're supposed to have like Saber back here firing cannons, but it's kind of too tall for that. It does the base mode, but I don't really like it. Now comes the moment you're waiting for in the Star Saber section, where we actually look at Star Saber. Not just Saber, not just the V-Star, Star Saber. So let's get to the transformation. It's actually pretty straightforward. So we're going to remove this. This is just going to go become a weapon. We're going to fold Saber kind of back into vehicle mode. He sort of goes part of the way back in there. This is the tricky part, is the legs. So you want to open the panels here, and then fold the legs closed. You want to open this panel like that, and then close it up around his leg. You want to leave it freestanding for now. You want to fold the foot away in addition to that. So we're going to foot away, fold this flap down, open this, collapse the leg, which sometimes this gets a little messy, close it up like that. Now we're going to take these, pull them forward. We're then going to pop that waist I mentioned where it pulls forward, get that all the way up, get these arms under him, and then we're going to peg these two legs together, and then these tabs line up with these two slots right there. Those are just stability tabs. They do serve a purpose. They do help the overall thing, because otherwise this might flop down a little easier, i.e. Masterpiece, but you got that. So this is going to be basically what we're going to leave Saber in. Now with the V-Star, we're going to remove the helmet, just pull it off straight there. We're going to pop this here, fold it up, and it molds right to the back, and there's these two pegs, or three pegs, 1, 2, 3, lines up perfect and neat. Fold that down, fold this down, fold that down, fold this down. We're going to come in and pull up on these red parts to get the feet. Now on mine, I don't know if this is the case on everybody's, it sort of takes a little bit of force to get it over the gray part, but once you do, it's there. This one in particular, I had to kind of push really hard, but once it's on, it's on. So now we've got sort of this thing happening. Fold the panels open. We're going to unlock the legs by pushing them down a little bit, like that. We're going to then unlock the arms. They're tabbed in. There's a little notch there that goes there. They're tabbed in like that. I'm just going to rotate the arms out of the way. I'm going to pull this down, rotate the arms up. Next, we're going to put the leg out and down. It's going to reconnect the blue to the blue. Fold this panel down, bring this up and around. Much better than the Masterpiece, which had this really complicated spring-loaded system that keeps seizing up on me lately. This is much, much better. It's more manual, and I appreciate that. You can also do the leg part first, then swing it out, bring it down. You hear those wonderful ratchet joints. Okay, so once all that is lined up, you're good to go on the legs. Now up here at the torso, bring the arm down. It's got the same sliding system, so you pull the panel, bring it down, put the panel back in, but make sure you lock in his elbow, otherwise he'll be swinging it all around. And then you come in here and you pull out the hand. Pretty straightforward. It's actually pretty simple to do when you're not explaining it. Look at this. I can do this in like 2 seconds almost. Hand's a little tricky. But there we go. That is all ready to go. So then we're going to take Saber, make sure he's all lined up. There's this little mechanism which is involved with removing him from vehicle mode. You push this red tab and it pushes it forward to release him. It's funny, this is the only engineering that's shared between this and the Masterpiece, is this little like chest compartment. But once you line them up and you push them down in, oh, almost forgot, the side skirts need to come down because they're up there for stability. Now those are out of the way. You can put them in, push him down, make sure he's locked in. I'm not sure if he's locked in. We gotta wait for the click sound to make sure he's clipped in. Okay, he's clipped in now. Then you want to line up these gray tabs with the red part inside here. Great piece of stability. Holds this whole thing together. Bring those fins back. And you're probably like, wow, that's a tiny head. Boom, no longer a tiny head. Flip the antenna up, bring them out, bring the face down. Now we have Star Saber. So here is Star Saber. Now this is the most recognized form, I think, of the character, and he looks amazing. This is one of the best Transformers designs, one of the better robot designs in general that I've ever seen. I love it, and I love the way it's been brought to life here. I especially love the way that they've added the extra details and just given him that overall really good super robot silhouette while giving him sort of a modern flair to it. As you can see, the head looks fantastic. I love the antenna. They hold in place. They only have 2 positions. I mean, they can move in, but they pretty much are meant to only go this far, which I think is fantastic. because that makes him really easy to position. There's the chrome on the chest. Again, don't really love the chrome. Could do without the chrome. I don't need the chrome, but hey, it does give it a little bit of a premium feel. I just noticed here, we have a little bit of excess plastic on the bottom. That is what you call mold flash. That happens with every level of product because sometimes it doesn't always get clipped off. You know, I really do like what they've done with the legs. Adding the techie detail really does bring out a lot of the details nicely. It kind of gives him some nice work because he's got, you know, the giant yellow kneecaps, but also the blue, and there's some sculpted details and vents on the white, so it's not so stark white. And yeah, I got a couple paint defects, this just happens. Like there's a little bit of blue right here, up here on the white. When you use white plastic, paint's just going to end up in places sometimes. I'm going to buff that all out because I have some stuff to remove paint, like a Mr. Clean Magic Eraser would do the trick. But overall, I mean, paint's pretty clean because he's pretty simple color-wise. He is mostly just white, blue, yellow, red. He is a Gundam. Anyways, the cool part about this guy too is he has a good range of articulation despite being this large. So of course the head moves left and right. It's moving the inner head, so you're going to be careful. It does tilt up, but you do start to see Saber's head poking up there, which is kind of funny. You can see a little bit of a head, but pretty nice. These shoulders rotate 360 on a ratchet. They do not move out, but the actual lower part, the elbow part, moves out. Elbow bend, he's got a double jointed elbow, which is pretty nice. He, of course, has a wrist swivel, of course, with the camera pointed that way. He's got a wrist swivel, and then his hands open. And they got the same system that Siege Jetfire had, where you close it, and it gives you a little ring to put weapons in, but you open it, and that ring fades away into the hand, which is nice, because I really do like that idea. With the waist, which is kind of interesting, is that you do have a swivel turn, and then it does tilt forward a little bit. Like it actually has an intentional forward tilt to it, which gives them a little bit extra range of movement. With these skirts here, these skirts move out of the way, so you get the hips, which are on full ratchets. Just beautiful sound. Thigh swivel, you've got, of course, a knee bend, which is pretty good, and then an ankle that pivots a little bit left and right, and then the toes can adjust slightly. But overall, I mean, he's a blocky dude. That's just the nature of his design. But I think they did a pretty good job with the articulation. There is one other piece of articulation, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So, of course, he is Star Saber. So where is his saber? It's in his leg. In the show and in the Masterpiece toy, it's in the backpack. But because the backpack's a lot smaller now, they shifted it to the leg. Now, you can store this in either leg. There's a slot on both sides, which is pretty nice. But you take this piece, you take the nose cone from Saber, you pull this out, you stick the blade in, and you've got the Star Saber, which I think it's called, is it called the Star Saber? Gosh, has Transformers used this name Star Saber so much with weapons that I think the weapon is a weapon? The point is here is he's got the sword. Now what's really cool about this, and this is the part of the articulation I didn't mention, if you want to have him hold the sword with two hands, you can. So what's cool is that you can actually pull the shoulders out like this, and then also pull them out like this, so you can get all this around his giant old chest. So if you line this up, I pretty much just pull the joint as far as it can go, and then you're gonna have to adjust it slightly. You can't just pull straight across. Once you get his two hands there, he can comfortably wield the sword with two hands, which is pretty incredible considering how much is in front of him. But he can hold the sword with two hands, which is pretty amazing. This is gonna look great when he faces off against Death Saurus next year, because I think Death Saurus might be able to do the same thing. We'll see. But I really do like the two-handed sword pose, because honestly, that's a feature that should be in Star Saber, and it's one that I don't think we've been able to pull off before now. Now, adding to that, of course, he can use the gun, which, of course, looks a lot better in his hand than it did in Saber's hand. And then he also has his shield. Now, the shield is very modular, because you can have it rotate it like this if you want him to hold it vertical, like that, which honestly looks pretty good, all things considered. Size is good too. Again, I like the tech detail because it sort of breaks up the stark white of it. You can also rotate it sideways like this and rotate his wrist so that he's holding it sideways, so it's got kind of more of a horizontal look to it, which is pretty good. But the coolest feature, which is one I didn't even think they talked about, I don't remember, it's been so long, you can actually take the sword, slide it in, and peg it into the top here. And now the sword lies in the sheath, and then the actual clip for the handle clips onto the arm, which just honestly looks really amazing. Like, you can have this guy ready for his, you know, super close combat, and then you can have him pull the sword out of the shield, and then he's got his shield ready to go. So I really do think that this is such a cool feature, because now you can have him displayed with all the weapons. What's also cool is if you want him to have all the weapons, you can have him hold the blaster there, and then also take the sword and have him hold the sword. And then you can also have the sword, shield, and blaster, because now he doesn't have to hold one with his hands, which is fantastic. And before I forget, yes, you can use the blast effects with the actual blaster. Now, size-wise, Star Saber's quite large for the modern generation size characters. For example, here is Leader Class Transmetal 2 Megatron, the most recent Leader Class I picked up. And you can see that Star Saber is dwarfing him. And Megatron's one of the bigger Leader Class figures of the modern era. So it's nice to see that he has a nice large size, but he's not too large. He sort of feels like a Commander class scale-wise, even though the last couple Commander classes have been small, you know, more Voyager-sized robot with big trailer. This does feel more in line with a Commander class, I think, in the current lineup of Legacy. But he is bigger than a Leader Class, which is nice to see. So here is Star Saber compared to the other Cybertron/Autobot leaders of the G1 era, minus Fortress Maximus, because all you'd be doing is looking at a giant leg in the background. But this is, you know, Earthrise Optimus Prime, Kingdom Rodimus Prime, and then Titan's Return Power Master Optimus Prime standing in for Convoy, Rodimus Convoy, and Jinrai. I do want them to make a proper Jinrai/Power Master Prime with the inner body and everything, because using the Titan's Return mold was fine, but we could do better. I didn't pick up the Jinrai version because I didn't expect them to make a God Bomber for it, and I really should have. But with how Star Saber's turned out, it's time to go back and get a new Jinrai. But in terms of the overall leaders here, he is, of course, bigger than the G1 guys, while being about the same size as that old leader class, which is pretty good. I mean, we've gone smaller scale on Transformers recently, so to see Star Saber come in, you know, technically taller than an old Titan's Return leader class is pretty awesome. So next up we have Victory Leo. Now Victory Leo is the reincarnation of Jinrai, who was the leader of the Cybertrons in Master Force, but he is kind of a brand new sort of design and character, and he is meant to combine with Star Saber to become Victory Saber. So we're going to do all that. But more specifically, we're starting in ship mode because this is the most boring mode for Victory Leo. And it's also just the easiest to start from. So first of all, the giant cannon here, the V-Lock cannon, this came with the original toy for Victory Leo, and I'm really glad we got it. Putting it as a stretch goal was kind of nerve-wracking, because this is kind of an important piece for the overall look, but I'm glad we did reach all the stretch goals, you know, pretty easily throughout the campaign. But overall, the V-Lock cannon here is pretty nice, but if you want to display your Victory Leo in ship mode without it, you can. Nothing wrong with that. You can plug the barrel blasts on the front here, which is pretty cool. Like, you can just do that, which is pretty awesome. And you can adjust the intensity on those since those all come apart. The one thing with this guy, I'll just point out in ship mode because we can see the wings better. There are a couple stickers on this set, which are these. Why are there stickers on a $180 Haslab? I have no frickin' clue. They painted the stripe here, front and back, including this indented ridge, and then want you to put a sticker on the other stripe on both wings. Why was this not just another paint app? There's got to be some kind of reason for it. Like, maybe this feels like a different plastic than this. Maybe this is unpaintable plastic, because there is a type of plastic that is unpaintable, and maybe they wanted that to make sure the hinge stayed together, and so the sticker goes over it. It's just a little weird. But this is what it looks like without the sticker, and honestly, I couldn't even tell. I looked at this thing, I was like, oh, what's missing? Until I looked at the instructions to figure out it was just the red stripe there. I didn't notice. All right, so it's on. Those are the stickers. It's weird because it's the panel lining, so you can see where to line it up, but then this isn't panel lined, so I almost want to like put an extra paint line in there. It's bizarre. This is probably like my one complaint, I think. My one actual legit, I don't like this whatsoever complaint is the stickers. I mean, they don't even line up correctly. Like, I lined it up to this edge here, and then it was a little short on this edge, and then on this one, I lined it up to this, and I don't know. And it only covers the front. It doesn't cover the back because, well, once you fold those away, you know, you can't really see it. really, really strange stuff, but I'm going to stop harping on it because, I mean, this set's pretty great. Like, I want to say that this is not a detractor for the whole experience. It's just really bizarre. Like, it's the one thing that requires a sticker. And I don't even think it's important enough of a detail to even worry about it. So anyways, your mileage may vary on that if you have one of these, but that's what I think. All right, so let's get this guy into his much cooler lion form. Pretty easy, honestly. Pull the head down. Actually, you want to pull the main pieces out, as you can see there. Line up the tusks like that, or the fangs. You can open the lion mouth, which is actually painted inside. I mean, I could paint, you know, inside there, but not the wing. I'm going to not talk about the wing anymore, but you can pull this down, get that clicked into place. It can be a little tricky, but there you go. Got the lion head. And then just, yeah, you just kind of sort of, I don't know, this is very Beast Wars of him, even though he was years before Beast Wars. You just bring the legs down, we'll fold the wings up, bring the cannons forward, come back here. I like the way these transform because they click into place in a couple spots as you rotate it. So there you know which position to put it in. This just comes around, click into place, bring the leg down, and that's pretty much it. So there's his lion form, which, yeah, lives up to the Leo part of Victory Leo. It's really cool. I prefer this to the ship mode in terms of alt modes for Victory Leo here. He looks really good. He's a very blocky lion. I'm going to assume he's supposed to be a lion. He's very tiger proportioned. Anyways, this is sort of working as like a pseudo tail, which I think is great. He looks pretty nice. Now you can, of course, attach the V-lock cannon. You want to just take the big plug here. It goes in the top, and then boom. Now you got a lion with 3 cannons and 2 wings on it, which is honestly cooler than Voltron. But anyways, I think overall his lion form looks great and turned out pretty good. Now, of course, this guy does have his own robot mode. So we're going to pull the cannon off, which can be a little tricky. Just kind of have to wiggle it off to get it removed there. We're going to pull the cannon. We're going to remove these cannons now. You could leave them on there, and we're just going to take them off for the moment. We'll fold this piece back here, and then his transformation's pretty simple from here. So you want to open this up, fold those in. We'll fold up the lion legs like we had them for the jet mode. I guess it would have been better to start in lion mode and then jet mode. Oh well. Anyways, we're going to bring this all around here, and then we're going to open up the back panels here and here, and then just extend the legs out, and then make sure the tab goes into the slot in the back there, so that way it lines up. Otherwise you'll have a loose floppy leg, but once it's together, it's pretty together. The feet fold out on either side, and he's turning out pretty good. Now up here at the top, you want to fold the hands out and then rotate them forward, and then do the same on the other side here. And then lastly, to kind of get this guy together, you want to fold the tusks out, which gives them horns, close the mouth, and get this little black panel all the way up to the top. Click it in place, make sure the side parts are apart, and there he is, Victory Leo. And Victory Leo isn't as well known as Star Saber, and I also don't think his design is as good. He is a great looking robot, but he does serve that function of combination, and so that does make him sacrifice a bit in his individual design. It's similar to how Transformers Armada had Jetfire or Overlord, who a little bit lacking in design in order to make up for the combination. But overall, I do like the head. He does have gold chrome on his chest, just like Victory Saber. It's in a similar, or Star Saber, I should say, in a similar design to give them some visual cohesion. Once again, not the greatest chrome, having issues with flaking and all that. Like I said, for Star Saber, but for mine, it turned out pretty good, but it's like 100% smudged all the time. Again, could have done without it. But overall, I mean, he's got kind of plain arms. He's got kind of a plain torso minus these Gatling guns for hips, which are pretty cool. They don't rotate or anything, but they're pretty awesome. And then down to his feet, which are pretty blocky. Articulation-wise, his head does look left and right. You can get his shoulders to move 360 if you move the wings back. They move out. Elbow swivel, elbow bend. Pretty good elbow bend. Wrist pivot, because of transformation, it's a little stiff. No waist, because he splits straight down the middle for combination. Hips that move out. Make sure not to get that to go. Hips that move forward, back. Thigh swivel, knee joint, and then a little bit of an ankle pivot. Of course, this guy does come with some weapons. So let's arm him up. You can just put the arm cannons on his arms. I guess you could also have him hold them, because they are the same peg size. But the handles are really shy, so put them like that. So you got the 2 arm cannons, and then the V-lock cannon, you flip down the little waist connector, and it clips right onto his Gatling gun, and that is what you call one loaded robot. He is ready for firepower. The only unfortunate part is you only get 2 blast effects, so if you wanted to have each cannon firing like this, you would have to just leave the V-lock cannon to just kind of doing a full burst spread here. But I mean, that's not the worst, so pretty good. It is kind of awkward because he's got just like one giant hip cannon there, but I think it looks really, really cool. Adding to that, in the functionality of the V-lock cannon, if you did want him to hold it, which he sort of sometimes did in the show, it's been a few years since I watched Victory. If you plug this in here, you can get him to just hold it normally, like over the shoulder if you want, which is pretty spectacular. Honestly, he's a fun robot for being this, you know, sort of combination partner that also has like a crap ton of artillery on him. And you know what? I can't fault him for that. Now, size-wise, I'm going to put him next to a standard Voyager of the modern era, this one being Legacy Blaster. You can see here that, yeah, he's about a little bit bigger than a Voyager, but he's a lot larger. He's a lot thicker. So, in a lot of ways, this guy, I would say, if he was sold on his own, would probably be a leader class. Like I said, Megatron's a bit of a bigger one. But he could be a leader class because of his size, his bulk, the cannon, that sort of thing. So I'll bring Star Saber in. We're kind of looking at with these guys, it's sort of like getting a commander and a leader in a box set with enhanced paint detail, engineering, accessories, and all that comes with a Haslab. But that's sort of what we're looking at scale-wise. Now, in the show, they are drawn to be about the same height. Physically, logistically, that's impossible to do with the way they combine. If you want them to combine, they can't be the same size, but they look like they go together well. I honestly do think that this is a nice set with the 2 of them, but of course, there's the 2 of them together. They naturally combine, and they combine in 2 different ways. Let's take a look. So just like in the anime and the original toys, you can combine both the Victory Leo ship mode and the Star Saber ship mode into one combination known as the V-Star Jet. So this one's pretty simple to pull off because you're mostly just redoing stuff that's already here. We're just going to fold the extra tail parts away, whatever you want to call them. And we can pretty much leave this guy like this. We're just going to flip these up because what's really nice is the way this is designed is that these slots fit into these slots, or these tabs fit into these slots in the back. So all you got to do is pop this piece up like this. Pretty simple and straightforward. And then you just got to line up the tabs and the slots. So it kind of slides into place here. You just got to basically make sure it lines up and plug it together. Because he basically he fits in that empty space in the back of the V-Star, which is pretty impressive actually. This design is thoughtfully well done, and then the toy version of it here is also well done. This piece can be in 2 different places. We'll talk about that in a moment. But you can just plug this on, and now he's secure. He's not going anywhere, which is really great. Now, there's a couple different display options with this guy. So we got the V-lock cannon. You can plug it in, sort of where it's plugged in on the jet mode of Victory Leo. And you can do this, which allows you to have the V-lock cannon in the center, much like how it was seen in the original toy and the anime. But alternatively, if you're going for a more complete package look, not so worried about accuracy, take this out, fold this away under Victory Leo's head, and then you can actually still plug the shield on. But you have to move the handle back to the back end here in order for it to fit. And then once that does, and that's actually pretty impressive because you actually fit the handle back there, then you can just put the V-lock cannon like in one of the many ports on the V-Star. But anyways, there is the V-Star Jet combination in full with all of its components. And then, of course, it can also go onto the stand. And there it is on the stand. Now, while there is still a wobble effect, because like I said, heavy piece of plastic, there is no, the base isn't going anywhere. It's sitting flat because there's counterweight with Victory Leo here. I think this looks fantastic. It's just such a great display piece. Let's just throw in the blast effects here just to add to it. So it looks like he's just in full firing mode. This is a pretty cool combination. I love when combining Transformers also have a combined vehicle mode, because that just feels to the spirit of Transformers. And this is one of the few, but it's one of the best. Absolutely love the way the V-Star Jet looks. The only thing cooler than having 2 different robots is having the 2 robots combined. So let's get to it. The combination on Victory Saber's side is pretty easy. You fold his feet away, and that's pretty much it. Like, no joke, he's all ready to go. And the nice part is his feet are folded away, he can still stand. But Victory Leo, oh boy, you're gonna get split apart, dude. All right, so we're gonna pop his head back, and we're gonna just rip his torso out, like that. This happens. Poor super robots of the 80s. If you're the one that they added to the toy line so that there can be a combination, you're just gonna get obliterated. This guy and Live Boxer share the same fate. Anyways, so you wanna get all this positioned. The head can go right here. Flip the wings out. You want to pop the cannons and rotate them around because that will be important for later. All set like that. And then we're going to bring the legs. The legs have to plug in here. And the lion legs are going to be folded up like this. This is kind of how it is in his jet mode, which makes it a little easier to go from jet mode to this, I guess. But anyways, we got this going on, and you want to fold this down so that way you have this peg free. But you got a nice little jetpack. And I guess with these stickers, it does help the Victory Saber look. Then with these, you're going to split them in half. Rip his innards out, split them in half. Transforming is not for the weak. We're going to fold the giant red foot out, fold this little peg in. Once you got the foot out, you're going to collapse the leg back down like this. Make sure it's all tabbed in securely, like that. Make sure the foot's folded away. Fold out this black piece and then fold up this red clip like that. We're going to split it in the middle. Yellow tab, black slot, goes together, nice and neat. Now you have a foot. And then you just repeat the process for the opposite side, which is pretty nice. The only thing you don't have to do on this side is fold the little clip away because there isn't one. So honestly, like transforming the feet and just transforming Victory Saber in general is like probably the easiest single part of this whole thing because it's just a lot of simple splitting and flipping. There we got two giant shoes. We've got Victory or Star Saber here. We're gonna plug these on to the bottom of the feet and then put that up there. So now he's got a big old shoe, and then this red clip's gonna go on the gray part, put it on, big old shoe. We're coming around to the back here. You got the big peg here, and this is gonna clip into the blue peg like that. And then you're gonna clip this white part into the part there. And we finished Victory Saber. You know, you wouldn't think just adding a little bit of a platform would make this guy so much bigger, but it does. He is substantially large. Here's a comparison with Legacy Minosaur. Minosaur being Motormaster with the shell and then extra deluxes added to it. You can see that this guy is as big as a Combiner. Most of the Combiner Wars guys are probably a little bit shorter than Minosaur. So yeah, this is definitely a really, really, really big robot. And it's a really nice one. Overall, the question becomes, is he stable? Oh, totally. Like, because of the way that the legs clip and peg in, that's not going anywhere. The double connection back here, that's not going anywhere. And it's not too heavy because there's some hollowness in Victory Leo to make him not too heavy to carry on Star Saber's back. And in fact, I forgot about an extra point here. Let's see if we can get it on camera. You can actually clip the red parts down there, and then you adjust the cannons from there. Missed that little detail, but look at that. I mean, he's pretty solid. And that's what I can ask for in a gigantic combination robot. It's one of the most solid experiences. Like, nothing is going anywhere, and he doesn't weigh too much. The only thing that kind of slips sometimes is this panel, and that may just be because I've been transforming it a lot today. But the cool part, too, is if you don't want to, keep this giant combo freestanding, well, that's what the stand is for. It's not just for vehicle mode because you can pull it like this, flip it around, take this off. Officially, this plugs in here. I found it holds about as well as tape holding down a car. So we can just bring this around, and this pegs into the back of his waist. Boom. Now you've got a stand. So now you don't have to worry about him flying anywhere. This also means you can do cool flight poses where he's kind of sort of off the ground a little bit, which is also really, really cool. And of course, you can also use all of the accessories we have so far. You can have the blaster with the sword in the shield. You can also, of course, have him with the sword and the shield. What's a really cool feature I forgot to mention in Star Saber form, you can actually store the sword on the hip skirt, either side, because the peg is the same size. So what's really cool is if you don't have the stand attached, you can actually attach 2 more accessories in storage on the back. Flipping this up will allow you to use the gray peg on the side of the V-lock cannon to plug it in right there. making a nice secure connection. Then on top of that, you can clip in the shield to store there as well. So if you want to hold everything like that, you can. If you wanted to hold no weapons, let's see, can we fit the gun? Is there a peg for the gun anywhere? You can fit the peg for the gun on the leg down there. Whoop, 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 whoop. Careful with the knees. Then, of course, we can take the sword, and the sword could go, I don't know, straight onto the hip again. Or you can just have it peg right down here like this, and maybe just take the blade. Oh, I know. Let's take the blade out. Put the blade in here like that, where it actually stores, and then store the handle right here so you can have kind of a quick access. And there we have Victory Saber at rest. Now, of course, I did not forget the V-Lock cannon's true purpose, which is to be used with Victory Saber. So folding this down and folding this down gets it ready. And what's kind of interesting is on the original toy, and, you know, by design, you plug this on so that way you got the handle going into the hand, and then the arm brace goes onto the arm. Now, this is cool, but this is the maximum leverage you could get out of the original toy and out of this standard. Now, I've talked about these cannons on the top being pivoting, because they didn't do that on the Masterpiece, and they didn't do that on the vintage toy from what I know. But I think the reason why these pivot is not for the base mode or anything else. I think it's so you can do this. And now you can have him firing it at the proper angle. So this is a simple design change where you just allow that to move, and now we can have him firing the V-Lock cannon at a proper angle. Let's get him dramatically posed, because we're on the stand. We can do this. And I've already prepped the blast effects, so that way we can have the V-Lock cannon with the most amount of firepower coming out of it, ready to blow away Death Saurus's Destrons in the sky. Honestly, I think it's pretty amazing. Now, of course, I've gone over so much in this video already, but I sort of put this aside just because it's at the very end. He comes with 2 Micromasters. So as a bonus, they included 2 Micromasters, Fire and Holi. These are using the molds from Transformers Siege, and basically Holi is a repaint of Stakeout, and Fire is a repaint of Red Hot. And those 2 were brought over to Japan as Fire and Holi, and they were looking a little different. Now, the thing is that I don't think we needed Fire, but Holi was definitely a main character in the series, hanging out with the main human, John, and I think that that honestly just adds to Victory Saber and Star Saber. Specifically, Star Saber is kind of like an adopted father to Holi and John. So this is kind of important to have Holi. Now, Fire here is on the same mold because these 2 were sold together originally, mold-wise. Now, the unfortunate part about these is I think that they don't drag down the set because everything else is worth it. Everything else runs really, really smooth. The quality on these sucks because the quality on the Micromaster molds also sucks. This is just the unfortunate reality. So, for example, you go to transform Holi, you're like, okay, I'll fold the car hood back, I'll pop his arms out like this, and then I'll go to move the legs, and the legs just pop right off. The joints on the Micromasters from Siege and Earthrise are notoriously terrible, and it sucks because I really do like Micromasters as a concept, and I wanted them to do more. They barely did, like, I don't know, 1/5 of the original Micromasters lineup, and then they all have this really bad quality because of all these ball joints they put on them. So anyways, there's Holi. I mean, he looks like Holi from the show. They colored him correctly. He looks the right color. He makes a nice addition to the lineup. Fire's trash. I don't know. Fire has no personality, and the QC, the quality on these molds, it's just these molds. It's not anything to do with the Victory Saber Haslab in general. These molds are just bad. This one just won't stay together on mine, and I think I've seen that with several others. And let's see if we can transform him without his legs popping off. Oh, there we go. Already happened. This is the thing, is that I'm glad we got Holi, because Holi is a main Victory character, so getting Holi in the proper colors is great. But we didn't need Fire, and man, Micromaster molds kind of suck. But there we go. There's the 2 of them. Of course, let me bring in the comparison. So here is Red Hot or Red Heat. So you can see Fire is a different color scheme. It's not just repacking a figure. It's using the same exact mold, which is, you know, the problem, but whatever. It's a nice little bonus. And then here is Stakeout to go with Holi. You can see that they use the same kind of torso color idea, but then Stakeout is primarily black, Holi is primarily white. So we did need this to get a proper Holi, but did we need a Fire? I don't know. They're just bundled together. That's just how it goes. But these two are neat additions, but they do not add to nor detract from the overall set. So now, as I mentioned in the opening, I do want to compare this guy to the Masterpiece version, at least for the Star Saber portion. So here is Saber in jet mode, and here is Masterpiece Saber in jet mode. You can see that there's quite a big size difference. I think it's the biggest thing is the Masterpiece is kind of close to the G1 toy size, whereas the Haslab one has gone for a bit smaller scale, so it fits with the more modern toys. I do appreciate the Haslab's playability more, but I do gotta say the jet mode does look nice. It also does feature landing gear on the back here, 2 on the back, 1 on the front, with tires, so you can roll it, compared to the landing gear here, which is just set it down. But then again, I don't display this guy in Saber jet mode that often, so take that as you will. Looking at the Brain of Courage, just like with Saber, the Masterpiece is a lot bigger than the Haslab. So in Saber's robot mode, the Masterpiece, of course, invokes the animation with its more blocky design, more simple design, whereas the Haslab one goes for the more generation style of adding sort of more tech detail where it didn't exist prior, and I kind of like the overall look to it. Though I do say the gun not dragging on the ground because of the longer legs is a good benefit for this one. The one thing that I do like about the Masterpiece over the Haslab, so as a reminder, the Haslab's Brainmaster flips out a face and it plugs into a chamber, whereas the Masterpiece, of course, going for more anime accuracy, actually has a sliding gimmick where you put the Brainmaster in, you push it, and it slides the face into place, and then the face is free to turn without turning the Brainmaster, so it's still got head articulation. Honestly, doing that on a smaller scale would have been really, really difficult. There is one other benefit to the Masterpiece, and that is it comes with a smaller version of the Star Saber sword, like the larger sword, that he can hold in Saber form. This is completely unnecessary because it only happened, I think, once in the anime, maybe twice. He didn't fight as Saber that often, so the fact they included this is nice, but for the Haslab not to have an equivalent of this, not too bad, honestly, because this didn't happen that often. So here's the 2 jet combos side by side with the Masterpiece and with the Haslab. The other thing is that I think that overall I do like the Haslab, once again, because of functionality. You can see here with the Star Saber helmet on the top, there's kind of a spring-loaded mechanism to his antenna. It holds it tight in robot mode, but in vehicle mode, they point together, which looks really weird, whereas this one allows it to point forward, which looks more like the cannons it should be. I think overall, of course, the size is different, but again, this is smoother details because more anime. This is more techie details because it's generations. I also do notice that there is a slight curve to the wings here where these are straight. But where this one has just an ingrained landing gear, you have to fold the landing gear out of the feet. And then up here, you have to fold the landing gear out of these Autobot symbols on the panels. Whereas this one just decided to go for these little feet, which actually I think balances it out pretty good with a lot less work. All you gotta do is flip 2 little panels. We had to flip out a lot of stuff on this one. The only other benefit here is that you do get the show accurate part of the sword being stored right here. So you can have, or you can pretend to have Saber throw the nose cone into the ship. Whereas this one, you can't get to the sword until you transform it. Now in terms of stands and shield storage for both of these, the stand on the Victory Saber set is really nice. It is really cool, but you couldn't do something like this with the Masterpiece because it's just plain too heavy. But they did provide a nice way to get this thing off the ground while also using another component of the set, which is the part that didn't have a spot in the original toy, the shield. This centerpiece swaps out for what is the normal shield handle. So they use the shield as a stand for the vehicle mode, and I can appreciate the ingenuity there. But I do like the shield just being on the back because it works into the design pretty good. But both of these did a great job to incorporate a stand design and the shield. So here is the Masterpiece Star Saber with the Haslab Star Saber. A really tall, really nicely anime accurate robot, whereas this one goes for a little bit stockier, but overall more solid figure. Because when you pick up this guy and shake him, he doesn't go anywhere. This guy, and now admittedly this thing is several years old at this point, but he's always had kind of these really floppy legs because he's got these die-cast feet, which causes legs to be heavier. One of the biggest things I like about this one is the fact the ears have a stopping point, whereas here they can fold all the way down. In general, this is way more fun to transform than this. This is very finicky, and age has not been kind to it. So this is great if you want to leave it in robot mode and never touch it again. This is much better if you're wanting to do more with the transformer you got. So here is the Haslab Victory Leo with the Masterpiece. I'm still mad Takara didn't make a Masterpiece one. They had all the engineering in place with Star Saber to do it and just didn't. So I think I went through everything. I think I made all the comparisons I wanted to make. Overall, what are my thoughts on Haslab Victory Saber? I love it. I really do. I think this turned out great. There are problems. It is not a perfect piece. Neither is literally any toy, specifically any transformer. Every transformer has to suffer from just this poor thing called reality. Some things are great in design, while other things work better in practice, and the overall plastic quality on transformers has had to go down to compete with the rising costs of materials and production. It sucks because the prices have gone up with that, but that's just the reality of transformers. For a modern day transformer, this is an incredibly solid set. Minus the two Micromasters being a little bit of a hot mess, Victory Saber as a whole, the full combination holds together. The vehicle mode combination holds together. While there's little minor things that I nitpick, like the paint on the wings, I can't even see that part of the wing anyways from here. It's just minor stuff. The engineering on here is not just taking the original design and regurgitating it, but actually kind of improving on it. I honestly think the engineering improvements over the Masterpiece, because it's the one I've had prior, and also over the G1 toy, are just immeasurable. This is honestly the better Victory Saber experience out of any of the previous ones that I've seen. This is best set, best possible outcome for these characters. And it makes me very happy that Death Saurus is giving the same treatment, and hopefully his quality will match Victory Saber's or exceed it, because Death Saurus is another character that requires a lot of unique tooling. Nothing in this Victory Saber set, besides the two Micromasters that already were using pre-tooling, none of this is reusable. It's usable once and only once because there's nothing else canonically that these can be repainted or remolded into. That's what makes them more expensive to do. So I'm glad that we did it like this because this is the proper way to do it. So overall, that does it for my review of Transformers Haslab Victory Saber. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, hit subscribe and notification bell for future Transformers videos. I will be doing a video covering all of Transformers Legacy in one video in January, so stay tuned for that. Also, be sure to stay tuned to other videos on the channel of other types. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok if you want to continue the conversation at Soundout12. Check out my live streams Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern. Special thanks to Darkon633 for that animated title card. And of course, check out my graphic designer on Twitter at DarkClaw643 and Hero Club at hero-club.com for Transformers news and more. And until next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.